My guest today is Simon Schnieders, founder of the UK's largest specialist SEO agency, Blue Array. Clients include Zoopla, Mail Online, RAC, Go Cardless, and actually, if I remember his last post correctly, they just recently won a pitch with Brett. So all the coffee's on Simon next time we meet. I actually met with Simon when we did a Clubhouse together. It all feels like a kind of melted into one, this whole Clubhouse experience. Was it real? Did we really spend 6 hours at a time on Clubhouse listening to a conference call? Is Clubhouse even relevant these days? But that's another conversation in itself. It gave me, enough of an insight to think, I must reach out to Simon on LinkedIn, which I did. And he's been posting up some really, really, really profound and really interesting pieces of content on LinkedIn. One of which was, and the reason I'm actually talking to him today, was how Blue Array made the decision to forego profits in 2020 in order to retain staff and also top up furloughed wages to 100%. Simon, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sats. Looking forward to it.
Firstly, how have you been, Simon?
Yeah, really good. So we hope to be ending the year somewhere around sort of 4 million turnover, about 20% EBITDA on that. So yeah, it's going to be a great year, hopefully, for business.
You are actually hiring, right? You want to grow your team. That's what you were mentioning earlier.
I started off as a solo consultant, and very quickly I realized that there was an avalanche of business out there interested in utilizing me at the time for SEO, and that avalanche has never stopped. We've always been quite aggressively hiring. So yeah, I think it's in the last quarter we've hired 17 people. Just to give you some idea of how fast we're growing. And so by the end of this year, we hope to be up to, I would imagine, around 70, 75 employees. So yeah, it's great.
You posted something a few weeks ago on LinkedIn, and it actually really gave me so much inspiration. And I really, really wanted to follow up with you. You had made the decision to forego profits in 2020 in order to retain staff and top up furlough wages to 200%. There's lots of companies who will say, yes, we are people first, but you've put your money where your mouth is. Could you tell us a bit more about how this came about and what your reason for this was?
I've taken the decision, and this is obviously, I've got some very good advisors in the business. My FD, was sort of saying to me, you've got to start letting people go, Simon. We've lost 20% of our business, and we did almost overnight. So I think this is in roughly April or maybe even May, we saw 20% of our business just disappear. And this is customers saying to us, we know we've got notice periods, but essentially we're tearing up the agreement. We've got to preserve cash flow. So I'm sorry, we just can't use you anymore. We've always said people, sales, profit in that specific order. So, it's time for us to, to say, yes, we're going to do that. But it came at a cost, not just to us in terms, saying goodbye to profit in 2020, the rest of the team as well. It meant that they were going to have to work, the ones that remained in the business anyway, that much harder. The ones on furlough, you couldn't, they couldn't work within the business. The only thing they were allowed to do was do training and development.
How do we actually use this money to invest in our people? Or how did that conversation come about from your side?
Yes, I think that, the business has always been one that's had a higher purpose. We're not just about, growing bank accounts, for individuals. And that higher purpose is part of our mission statement. So our mission statement is to elevate our people, customers, and industry through SEO and use our business to positively influence a better world. So it's everything we're about, So people, as I say, if they're first, and they've got to be first, particularly if you're running an agency, you're not a SaaS business, you're essentially selling time and materials. So unless you put your people first, then ultimately your customers aren't going to be satisfied, and that means you've got no profitability. So again, if you focus on your people first, you prioritize their development, growth, and safety within the business. And then, as I said, that knock-on effect will mean that you're servicing your customers to become what we call raving fans. And that's what we're always trying to do, is make our customers into raving fans. 99% of our business is happy customers referring more happy customers. So again, if you start with your people, that will take care of itself. And then, ultimately turnover fixes most challenges with profitability. So this trifecta of people first, customers, and actually there's a third element of it, which is industry, completes our flywheel, because we want to be a beacon for the industry as well, the SEO industry, to show that there is a way of doing things that works, is incredibly effective. You can you can build an incredibly successful agency, by having a higher purpose and running it in the right way, as opposed to perhaps, a self-servicing business that only seems to, serve the founders. Having that higher purpose is one where you can still have a very successful business.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to create more raving fans out of their existing customer base?
So I think, ultimately, when we're within the business of SEO in particular, or when you're running an agency, you're in the business of relationships first and foremost. So forget about, what it is you do, but you're in the business of relationships. And I think when you understand that, then you'll start to build those raving fans. And so, something that doesn't get talked about enough in agencies is not, how can we deliver success to our customers, but also how do we make our point of contact within that company more successful and get them promoted? So, that's something that I think is really important, is how do we make our point of contact, whether that's the CMO or the digital marketing director or the SEO manager, how do we make them successful? How do we get them promoted? And so making them look good is part of that sort of raving fan element. There's also having, we've got somebody focused on sort of client success and making people feel as though they're involved with our journey as well as an agency. So we want people to know that, we can't build a really successful business without them. So, our customers are part of that journey, and getting them involved in, events and, under the hood of our culture here is really important as well. At a very superficial level, you can have a customer newsletter that lets them, into what's happening within your business and letting them know that they're part of that journey, but also making sure that you're involving them with, for instance, our parties. And we've got Brighton SEO coming up shortly, and we'll be inviting our customers to come along to that as well and join us for a large lunch that we always do as part of that celebration. So I'd say it touches lots of different areas. I can't give you a single sentence on it because it impacts so many different areas, but yeah, focusing on the customer and the individual you're dealing with at the business, and sort of forgetting about what it is you do, but how you can make them successful. I think it's critical.
The other question I had for you was, a company like ours, we're 5 people. We don't have biggest turnover yet. But I really believe in looking after my people. When COVID happened, we didn't let anyone go. I personally took a bit of a pay cut to almost zero just to make sure that we kept our lights on and, we kept everything going. We haven't really spoken about this to anyone. What I mean is that we have things like, we have unlimited budgets for books or training, little things that which I can afford to pay out, that makes the lives of our team members just a bit better than it would. Would you have any other tips or advice on making sure that you're investing in your people? And, especially if you're a small agency, but you want to do the right thing.
It's admirable what you've been doing, Suds, and I think you're definitely on the right path. And what you'll find is you're just, as you've got greater profitability, that will allow you to invest more in those areas. I mean, at the stage we're at, we can do things like free private healthcare for every single one of our employees. But I think, you're right, at the stage you're at, whether and it can be simple things like, snacks in the office or, pizza Fridays or whatever it might be, you'll do as much as is affordable, right? And as you start to generate more profit, then the amount that you can afford to do will increase as well. But yeah, on your P&Ls, you definitely want to have something on there that speaks to training and development. And something that ultimately you're growing and you're developing your people through.
What made you want to invest in people?
If you're a people business, and we are, again, we're selling time and materials in agency land, then it makes absolute sense that you'd invest in that. When you're a business owner, founder, you get to choose the way that you want to run your business. And, you don't have to follow any particular path. You can choose your own journey. And I think for me, it was about, what do I want to, what kind of business do I want to run? Well, I definitely want to run the kind of business that I would love to work in. And what would that mean? Well, the only time I've ever felt as though I was sort of stuck in a rut or unsatisfied in a role was where I wasn't growing and developing. So how do we make sure that we're always growing and developing our team? And that's absolutely critical.
I want to say thank you so much for your time, Simon. How can people get hold of you if they wanted to reach out, find out more, get invited to the barbecue house?
So just LinkedIn is the best place to approach me. So please feel free to reach out and connect, and I'll happily connect with you.
The link to Simon's LinkedIn will be somewhere in the description or in the box somewhere. Thank you again for your time, Simon, and